Jason Palmer, thanks so much for doing this and coming on today. Obviously, this has been a road that you've gone down in your career in terms of investing in AI. Why in this facet right now, when it comes to the year 2025, is this what you're looking to do?
Well, the biggest reason is because AI is going to transform our economy. It's going to be more important than electricity, more important than oil and gas. It's actually going to really transform our society. And this is the very beginning of it. And it's the right time to get involved when there's a new technology and there's so much potential.
Why Generation Z? Why that population specifically are you looking to invest?
Yeah, well, it's partly because, they probably remember there was sort of a generation that was born, like the born digital, basically, like the kids that were born in maybe the 80s or 90s, that computers were always around them and they kind of learned to type their term papers on a computer. They didn't actually go through the phase of having to write things out. And then there was a generation that was kind of born mobile and they've been, living perhaps too much on their phones and on social media. But this new generation is going to be born with AI just, part of everything around them. And every person that I talk to in high school or college or even in their, 20s is using AI every single day. Not just for 1 or 2 hours, but sometimes longer than that to help with schoolwork, to help with things at real work if they do real work. You and I were just talking about like Otter AI to transcribe meetings that we do online. It's becoming more and more a part of our everyday lives, and it's just going to increase from here.
Education's one place that you've invested in when it comes to these startups. Why, in that aspect, have you wanted to look into more education-based AI programs?
Yeah, so there's a lot. There's a company called EdTech Insiders that keeps track of the fact that there are now more than 200 companies that are doing innovation in EdTech all across the US, and it's even more across the whole world. One company I'm really excited about because I invested in them is a company called Socrate. And Socrate is this little device here that you see on my lapel. Teachers wear it while they're teaching, and it listens while they teach, and it turns what they say into data and actions to kind of reduce all the administrative burden that teachers have. So it does their attendance for them. It helps keep track of behaviors, praises, warnings, class participation. The goal is next year would even keep track of special education things that need to be kept track of. You probably know that teachers are burning out all across the country. It's a really big problem. We have so many teachers leaving, and the number one reason that they cite is at the end of the day, after teaching 150 kids, they're exhausted, and then they have to sit down and type all this information into all these various platforms. And they can't remember it all. It's almost impossible, and it's kind of exhausting. But this is a way that it can listen to what happens during the day that comes out of your own mouth, and then it turns it into data and it does your admin work for you.
So is it listening to what the teacher is saying with like a transcription? Is that right?
Close,
Yeah.
because this is for education. It's a little different than Otter in that it's not actually keeping a transcript. There's no recording. You can probably imagine a lot of teachers are concerned about like, is someone listening in on my classroom? This is a device that just listens as teachers teach and then turns what they say into data and actions. So there is no transcript, there is no recording. It's just turning it into data and actions, which is a little hard for people to grok, actually. So we're having to teach people about how that works and that there doesn't have to be a recording and there doesn't have to be a transcript. The average teacher does 15,000 to 20,000 words a day. So if there actually was like a transcript, it would be like this massive convoluted transcript. And our system, our Socrates system kind of tunes it down to about 500 data points per day that really matter.
So was Socrate one of these young individuals that you're investing in now?
It's a mix. So
Yeah.
Cameron Flint, who is a co-founder and a chief technology officer, he's about 35 years old, and so he's definitely a millennial. And in fact, the founder and CEO, Maria Anderson, she's a little bit older. She was actually one of Cameron's teachers earlier in his life, and in fact, she still is a teacher in Sandy, Utah, right outside of Salt Lake.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, have a teacher be the one that has this idea, someone that's looking to help solve problems that they encounter personally, which
That's
makes
right. That's right. And Maria is kind of an exceptional individual in general in that she's been a teacher for almost 20 years now. And she kind of goes back and forth between teaching for 3 or 4 years. Then she comes up with a genius idea, starts a company. Then she sells the company. Then she goes back to teaching for a few years. And this is the same thing here. This is the second time she's started a company like this that came out of her teaching and her work.